So good morning. Welcome to the special meeting of the Personnel Subcommittee. Today is February 25th, 2022, and it is 8:30 a.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The first up on the agenda is revisions to the Director of Public Works classification, and I'm going to turn that over to Maria and Tom to take it away.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Good morning, and thanks for getting together for the special meeting. So as you all know, our town engineer, Jeff Shea, is going to be retiring next week. He will be staying on part-time with us during the staffing transition, probably through about Memorial Day. But in preparation for Jeff's retirement, Tom and I have been having some conversations for some time now about working towards a reorganization in which engineering would now report to Public Works. It is a model that is commonly used in other places. I do think there's a lot of opportunity there for some synergies and some efficiencies. And I also think we're just very fortunate that we have, Tom on staff who's very, well qualified to supervise engineering. He has a PE. He's been with us for over 12 years now. And again, I just think he's really well suited to take on that role. In order to update Tom's job description, you'll recall under the charter, the Board of Selectmen does need to approve any potential job description and pay range updates. So we did work on a job description update that not only would encompass engineering coming under Public Works, but we did also take it as an opportunity to actually do housekeeping updates to the job description as well, to make sure that it was really, reflective of the work that, Tom does now, such as things such as sustainability work that, wasn't happening, many years ago. We also did a salary analysis and took a look again at many of our comparable communities that do use this model in terms of, again, taking a look at what the market is doing for salary. One other sort of just interesting, I think, piece of background information regarding compensation for civil engineers at the moment is that, as many of you know, that has been, again, a specialized area where it's been hard to fill those positions for some time. With the infrastructure bill that's coming down the pipeline, along with, we've been told by the State Department of Transportation, I think they're expecting about 30% of their civil engineers to retire in less than 2 years from now. So they're going to be losing about a third of their workforce. We know that there's a shortage of civil engineers. And so we're already starting to see some, changes in the market in terms of compensation for civil engineers, because as it's, again, becoming increasingly difficult to find good, talented people like Tom, it is really starting to drive the salaries up. Tom, I don't know if there were any other sort of introductory comments or just overview that you wanted to share or provide.
Well, I guess I always say the same thing. I always like going to meetings and talking about what the department does. I always feel uncomfortable talking about myself as an individual. The one thing that's always interesting with just our setup and our terms of our form of government, I don't think always the members of the Board of Selectmen understand, as department heads, where some of our background and qualifications are. So as Maria mentioned, I have a degree in civil engineering. I'm a licensed professional engineer. I have a master's degree in construction management. And then I'm also a certified energy manager and an Envision specialist. Envision is very similar to LEED, but it's for infrastructure. So it's how do we be green and have a more holistic approach to projects beyond just the scope of a building. I think, as you do know, I've been here since 2008, best job in the world. And I kind of really do look forward to what I could do with adding engineering in and just kind of having all of the divisions work that much closer.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. And I think what Tom and I are envisioning is that the what would become the deputy town engineer, which was formerly Jeff's position, would function very similar to how our water pollution control superintendent functions and how our highway superintendent functions. So they, really do oversee the day-to-day operations of those divisions of Public Works. But again, in terms of hierarchy, reporting structure, they go to Tom for direction, approval on certain things. And I think that's really how we're envisioning this. That simply, the restructuring wouldn't be adding any positions, it wouldn't be reducing any positions. It really would be more about sort of hierarchy and reporting structure. And again, I just do really feel that, Tom is very well suited for that. Any questions for us?
only a comment that I just think we're very lucky that we're in this position. Obviously, appreciate Jeff's work, but also very thankful for Tom, your hard work and your expertise to seamlessly kind of jump into this so we can keep things going. And as everybody knows, there's no shortage of capital projects around here. And, I obviously, as I've learned over the last, years, the tie-in between the two worlds, I think, is critical. So Tom, looking forward to your, strategic leadership on that as we bring a lot of these projects forward, and then ultimately I think be able to save the taxpayers money and do things in a pretty creative manner. So looking forward to it.
Thank you.
First, I have questions.
Sure.
So first of all, my big question is, Tom, or in general, if Tom were to decide he didn't love Simsbury, how hard would it be to fill that position? Or would we revert back at all to how we are set up today?
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to face that until Tom retires. I've told him that before. But, in the event that we ever found ourselves in that position, again, it is, a pretty specialized field. But again, I do think that there are, engineers that also serve as public works director. As I mentioned, there are many throughout the state that do that. So again, it would just be really how we market the position. If that were to happen, that we would just have to be very clear that, our expectation would be that we're looking, for somebody who's also a PE. Something that Tom and I did talk about, which we included in the job description, is that in the future, if we found ourselves in that position, is that somebody would have 1 year to obtain their PE license. And in part, that's because out-of-state candidates, the way that licensure works, there's not really an easy sort of reciprocity type process from state to state. So if in the future we were to hire a different PE, they were coming from another state, we would just need to give that person a little bit of time to get the licensure here.
Okay. So I have a couple more questions. One thing that I didn't notice in the job description was any reference to supporting the efforts of the Planning and Zoning Commission, in that I know that you guys work directly with them if they're bringing on new projects. It doesn't really say anything there. I don't know if it isn't. I know it's implicit, but does it need to say that you work in conjunction with them to get new businesses and whatever?
That's really not so much, I would say, under Tom's purview, but the way you just described it would be more so the planning director, where the engineering division has typically had a role is, and again, I think that the deputy town engineering would probably be doing more so of this, is that if the town buildings and facilities that we own, if we need a permit, say a wetlands permit or something of that nature, engineering will typically prepare that permit and submit it before the commissions. The other piece where there's a little bit of crossover is, again, the engineering division would still continue to do plan review. Tom does help with certain aspects of that sort of plan review, as well as the public works director and development team. But I do think that the deputy town engineer would probably still be responsible for some of those, again, sort of more like routine day-to-day functions of the plan review.
Okay. So basically it's a function of both jobs, doesn't need to be called out at all.
And we do also at least mention in the job description that, that the position does support, boards, committees, et cetera, needs to attend, meetings, things of that nature.
Okay. Another item that I just was curious, I was very happy to see that it supports sustainability and clean energy. Is support a strong enough word, I guess, Tom, for you? Is it your job to promote or recommend initiatives in that realm? Or does that, I know it comes from the boards and commissions, but, is there any proactive nature of what you do for those areas?
I think it's something that I've always done. I really kind of like the Clean Energy Task Force and the sustainability in terms of going out and finding projects, especially projects where not only do they save energy, but they usually save us money. And I think in terms of the job description, if we were to change that, it wouldn't change the function of what I do. But if you would be more comfortable with that, it certainly would make sense.
Well, I'm just putting it out there. I thought support was, you wouldn't take the initiative, even though we know you would, but if it was somebody else. So I just put it out to my members on personnel if they think it's fine as is or would like to see it stronger.
And at the end of the day, this role reports to the town manager. So if the town manager were to direct a future candidate, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's support or promote. But if you're more comfortable, I'm fine with it.
Amber, you have any thoughts or
I mean, I think it is kind of a semantics choice, but I don't have a strong opinion either way.
Okay, so Tom, if you're fine with support, Maria's fine with support, I'll be fine with support. Just wanted to mention that. And then just overall, how many staff now report to you, Tom? Will report to you?
45.
Okay. And
I'm sorry, Wendy, did you mean the overall size of the department or Tom's direct reports?
Well, both actually, I guess. So 45 in total.
Right.
Right. And then you have a direct report for each, like pretty much highway and.
Right.
Okay.
For highway, for buildings and grounds, for WPCA, there'll be one for engineering, and then our project administrator and our administrator.
Okay. And then my last question is, given all these new items in blue in your job description, that's like a lot of new role. You may be doing some of it or have started taking it over, but I just want to make sure you're not going to lose your sanity and you're able to maintain all the aspects of your new job and provide the same level of service and smiling happiness that you do today.
Well, you start with the presumption that I'm starting from a position of sanity. So. I think it is a lot, and believe me, it's not something I'm going into lighthearted. And had some conversations with Maria, and we're hoping to make some changes even administratively to kind of streamline some operations. All in all, within Public Works now, we're going to have 2.5 admin staff, and we've already started talking, can we use them in a way that's going to be a little bit more effective to help shed some workload or some time constraints for me. And one of the things I know that takes a lot of time that I really care deeply about is being the person to get back to residents. So we may look at having one of the staff really dedicated to making sure none of my emails get missed. That's the one that scares me is, on any given day, especially a day like today where people may want to have a conversation with me about the snowstorm, you could get 60 emails. And with the fact that I'm in and out of the office, it would be great to make sure that the staff have a little bit more time to help me to make sure I can be, as effective as possible.
Okay.
I have a question about the deputy role. I mean, first of all, Tom, I just want to say that, I think we're really excited this opportunity has come up. The timing seems to, have really presented itself that this is a great time to do this type of realignment. So, and I think we're very fortunate, and the town is very fortunate to have you. And as for the deputy role, is that role really just going to take over the role of the town engineer, or is it really like a deputy to Tom that would kind of be a second in charge over all the things that Tom does?
The intent at this point is that it's going to be somebody who oversees engineering and not to be a true deputy director of Public Works. If we're fortunate enough to find a candidate that has the operational experience, it is something I think that we could look at long term. And it even goes to Wendy's point earlier about if for some reason I win the lottery or something, for some reason I'm not here, it's who takes over. Right now, each division manages themselves when I'm not around. But we certainly want to focus on somebody who has really the good technical skills. And if they have the management skills, then I think that's the direction we could go in the future.
Right. It does sound like there would be, especially with all of the responsibilities you'll be taking on, if in the hiring process, we have the opportunity to find and identify a candidate that we think could grow into that role with some additional experience, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's all I had. Thanks.
That's a great point here, Amber.
Thank you.
Okay. So, sorry, looking for my... I'm sorry, I'm not on the page in my agenda.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, we did prepare just a sample motion for you guys. I think it was page, hang on a second, I can tell you, page 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not seeing it right now. I'm in the document, sorry.
That's okay. It's page 3 where it says suggested motion.
Okay. Okay, got it. Still reading a lot of. Okay, so if personnel support the changes, we move effective February 25th, 2022 to endorse the revised job title, job description, and pay range for the Director of Public Works position as presented, and to further move these recommended changes to be forwarded to the full Board of Selectmen for approval.
Move that.
I'll second.
Amber, any discussion? Any nays? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, congrats, Tom.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're really, excited about the opportunity, and I'm just so glad that we have Tom here. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Okay, great. So now we can move on to item 2. Are we going to, Maria, you're good to go to, okay.
Yeah, just a very quick oral update on the Deputy Town Engineer classification. So as Tom and I mentioned, we're really envisioning that position is going to still do sort of many of the day-to-day, operations of engineering division, overseeing that division. So we are working off of Jeff's current job description and kind of freshening that up as well. We're also doing a nearing completion on a salary analysis for that. Again, looking at communities where they have a deputy town engineer reporting to a public works director. So I think we're getting close to polishing that up as well. So for your, hopefully for your next meeting, we will have that, revised job description and pay range for you to take a look at.
Okay, great. Okay. So the next item is the Animal Control Officer job description updates. And I'm going to turn it over again to Maria.
Yeah, thank you. So this again is part of a charter requirement when we have changes to job descriptions, and these are two very modest housekeeping changes to the animal control officer job description. With Mark Rudowitz retiring, I think the police department did a good job, did their due diligence just to take a look at the existing job description to see if any updates were needed. And one of the names of a regional task force has changed, so we wanted to update that to reflect the current name, but as opposed to having it under requirement section under essential functions. So really just moving it to a different place within the job description. The other housekeeping edit that we found was back around 2009, the pay grade for that position through collective bargaining was changed, but the job description was never updated to reflect it. So those are really just the two sort of modest housekeeping changes we have. I don't know, Chief, if there's anything else you'd like to add?
No, nothing else. Thank you. Sounds good.
Chief.
Oh, one other quick point. And the chief did share those proposed housekeeping changes with the Police Commission Chair, Jenna Caulfield, who is on the call with us this morning.
Hi, Jenna.
Morning.
Morning.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to just jump into move effective February 25th, 2022 to endorse the proposed job description changes to the Animal Control Officer position and to further move to recommend that the job description be forwarded to the full Board of Selectmen for approval.
Move that.
John.
I'll second. Yeah.
Amber. Any nays? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. And then our last item, excuse me, is a potential reappointment of an EDC member.
Yeah, so this is, I think, a really neat opportunity. You may recall in the fall that Peter Van Loon, who was one of the original appointees to the EDC when it was reconstituted back in 2018, had indicated that he was looking to take a step back due to some personal and work commitments, but that he didn't want to leave the commission until we had found a potential replacement for him. And so we had posted that vacancy. I'd have to double check with Melissa, but I think it was back in December. What's really kind of neat and interesting is that, again, one of the other members to the EDC early on is interested in rejoining the EDC, Carrie Meckel. She had previously gone through sort of the competitive volunteer recruitment process. She had been interviewed by a work group of the Board of Selectmen. She was selected for the EDC. She was appointed. She had, unfortunately, due to a job she had taken at the time, had needed to step off of the EDC, but had said that, in the future, she would love to be involved again if possible or to help out. And her work circumstances have changed. So she would be very, very much interested in rejoining the EDC. So I did go ahead and have her complete an updated volunteer submission form, which we have shared with you, and really just wanted to kind of ask you all if you, would feel that you might want to interview her, maybe as a potential candidate again. If you felt comfortable, maybe moving forward with a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen without an interview. Just again, kind of wanted to throw that out there for discussion today.
I don't know her, but
Maria, can you say how long she's been off? Like when was she interviewed the last time?
Yeah, it would have been back in 2018, where she would have interviewed and been appointed. And she served for about a year before she had needed to step off for work commitments at the time.
I mean, it seems like if she's been through this process once and had to leave because of these outside commitments and job commitments that have since changed, I don't know that we would, it's not like it's been 10 years. So I would be in favor of inviting her to come back to the commission without having to re-interview her. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels.
well, the only question I have is, do we have like people that have been waiting to be interviewed or anything like that we should also interview?
Not anybody for this particular political party. So
Okay.
Carrie is of the same affiliation as Peter. So that helps with that piece as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Then I would move it to the next step.
Oh, sorry. And one other thing I should add is that Carrie I felt like just a really terrific, she was very engaged, very active member of the commission. And she did serve as vice chair for that year that she was on the committee, and also helped out with the sustainable CT certification as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you. I'll let her know.
Okay. So I think that's the end of our business.
That's it.
I'd like to ask for somebody to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Everybody stayed warm.
Thanks, everybody.
Today.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.